Sorry about the technical difficulty there. So I guess Vaughn could hear me as I was speaking. If you tuned into the first section, our first 12 minutes there.
It got kind of garbled, but you told the story well, Chris. You know, the Indian called me 3 times, and it seemed like there was no interaction to the calls. He was just delivering a message. And then I realized, you know, much later that he was really trying to impart some very valuable information to me. Mm-hmm. And then I realized that he was deceased. But, you know, the thing is, in the early days of telephone, I found this in researching the book, a lot of the classical stories I tell are people that have received phone calls like that from who knows what, sometimes deceased people, sometimes people who have recently died. There was a gentleman who died in a train crash in California in 2008 when the Metro Link collided with the Union Pacific. And he died in that crash. And yet, just after the crash, his son started getting phone calls. And then the family started getting phone calls from his phone, but it was static. And so what they thought he must be alive. And so they searched, and he was like in a front car. He was one of the first people to die. And they found his body, but they never found his phone. He never found his phone. And an hour after they found his body, the phone call stopped. Now, they never found the phone, but they found the body, you know. So, I mean, how did the calls get made? So, you know, in the early days of telephone, you know, even Bell himself, even some of the great inventors, you know, Edison, they wanted to make spirit phones, and they would be like a phone, but it would be like a phone that wouldn't be connected to anything. And people would actually take these phones to church, and they were trying to talk to the dead. And I'm not advocating calling the dead. But you know, if they come and they want to say, I love you, goodbye, you know, let them do that. You know, it often happens shortly after someone dies, maybe within a day or 2 or 3, that even your pets or your loved ones will come and say goodbye. You know, they might do it in a dream. They might, you know, you might be daydreaming. You might hear them in your head. But many people report this, you know, and electronically, you know, people have long reported communications from beyond. We can't say from whom, because you can't see the source. The Beatles recorded an album after John Lennon passed, the 3 surviving members, and they went into the studio and they recorded this. And then after they were done, they heard on a speaker that was disconnected. They heard the voice of John Lennon saying something like, good on you, lads, or something like that. And every one of them look at each other and said, that was John. You know, so I mean, there was a ham radio operator who died, and in his attic was his radio. It wasn't hooked up or anything. His daughter goes up and he listens, and he flicks it on. Well, it's not connected. She doesn't know how to operate it. And she hears her dad saying, hi, Pumpkin. So he said, Dad, is that you? He said, yes, Pumpkin. He said, go get your mother. She runs down, gets the mother. He said, hi. He said, is that you? He said, yes. He said, goodbye. And that was it, you know. So the dead will do this, you know. When the telephone first came out, you know, more than 100 years ago now, they actually made these spirit phones, and they were phones that were not even going to be connected. They were just dedicated to receiving calls from beyond. Yeah, you know,
right. That reminds me of one of your stories within here. I forget. I believe you were working for Llewellyn at the time, and so the owner, I believe, had passed away. And so there was this mysterious phone that just appeared. Right? Is that what happened? So
yes,
it appeared. So what? So
Carl Weschke's first secretary and the woman who took care of his child when he and his wife were working, and this woman he had known forever. She, you know, he died before her. He died in his late 80s, and she's like now in her 90s. But right after she came back from his memorial service, one of many, because he was beloved, she comes back, and on her kitchen table is a black phone, an old rotary phone. Yeah. And she looks at it, and there's a card attached to it
Mm-hmm.
and the card says his name.
Mm-hmm.
It's a business card.
Mm-hmm.
And she's afraid to touch it. She puts it in the closet. So, it's like, how did it get there? So I interviewed Carl's widow, and we went to lunch, and I said, how could this be? She said, I have no idea. No idea. I will just say that he liked to talk to her. And I think that if she would have picked up the phone, she might have heard his voice. I don't know.
But she never did she? I guess
she never did. It's still in the closet. she's afraid,
Yeah, it's funny you say that. So like I was reading that passage like that last night, and I was just by myself and late, and I was tempted to just like do one of the exercises you said. Like, no, I'm not quite. Now's not the time. Because someone popped into my mind is like, but I'll tuck that away. I will try it if I have results. I'll let you know. But it's just like I wanted to be in the right mental state to do it. First.
Yeah. Dial someone who's passed on.
Yes.
Is that the one? Yeah.
Right.
I've often thought of that. Many times during the day, not every day, but many times I'll get this idea during the day that I need to pick up go to the phone and dial OL95614, which was our phone when I grew up as a child. We lived in that house 40 years.
Oh.
And I just think that even though the building is removed and the phone lines removed, that somehow my mother would hear me, because who's giving me this idea? Where did these ideas come from?
Right. No, that's it. Yes, I don't doubt that would happen. Really, ironically enough, there are not just like auditory messages in here. There are throughout different kinds of messages too. So it's not just warrior thing. So there's too many. There's so many to talk about. But I wanted to relate that I started reading this. I think it was on Sunday, and ironically enough, for the last couple of days, like out of the corner of my eye, I've been seeing these little flicks of light.
Yeah.
Here, a fleck there, just for a moment. Yeah.
Are they blue?
I can't tell. Oh no, they're white.
Oh, white. Okay.
White. Yeah. So,
do they have a shape?
Yeah, it's like a little cube almost.
Yeah.
So, but no, it only started when I started reading the book, and it's just like, what is it? It's very interesting too. So, I don't think it's coincidental actually that that one is leading to another one. Messages. I don't know, and it's like it's enough to give me pause.
Well, my teacher Lewis, he would say that probably. I can't channel Lewis because he was such a great man, but he would probably say that those are energies. And he would refer to energies as intelligent energy, and he would channel energy, and I would say, who are these? Are these fairy spirits or guides or angels? And he'd say they describe themselves as a collection of energy gathered at this time to assist you. Yeah.
I think that you reflect on his influence, and he didn't go in a dogmatic way. He always seemed to be. It sounds like he's very non-denominational, and just didn't quite want to define them in a specific way outside of what you're saying. The energies, the assistant energies as well. Yeah. So and just to come back to that point, you talked about his mantra of listen, the title of it, right? So, as you're saying that, I'm thinking about like, okay, there are three different kinds of listening, really, because you have a listening is just to hear or be aware of what the message is, but then really the focused listening part, which is the middle part,
right?
And then you have the absorption of what the message is to listen with a capital L. So I think actually there's a process in just in those three words, and I'm sure. That's the whole point, right?
You've got it. To really listen intently like this.
Yes.
You need to focus, and you have to have intent.
Right.
And in yoga they always say concentrate, and I'd say, oh no, that doesn't translate. Don't concentrate, because what you do is you're activating your analytical mind, your brain, and there's nothing in your frame of reference that's going to bring you to this point of understanding. You need to tune this out and draw from within you something deep, And in theosophy, we call this, the inner self, your spirit, you whatever you want to call it, your soul, your essential life force, your the light within. And if you can activate that and then just let it come forth and then focus and listen intently, you have to become a very good listener. And what I tried to explain in the first book, Manifesting, nothing gets manifested if there's no willing receiver at the other end. And it's true of too, as when we try to listen, as receivers, we have to be willing receivers. There's so much we're missing. So many people are missing because they don't learn to listen. Angels could be trying to talk to you. God could be trying to talk to you. You could be getting extremely important information from people who need your help,
right? Or
people who are trying to communicate with you, and you need to listen.
Exactly. No, it reminded me of something from my dog-eared edition here and stuff, and people hate to borrow books from me because they're all really far. Yeah, but no, it's really it's a good passage in here that I put a mark by. It's hard to really listen if we're always speaking. It's hard to listen to outside voices if you're processing thoughts inside us all the time, never allowing a quiet time of tranquility or openness. And so really having to be open, to receive and vice versa. That's why we said before in the first section of our interview about it's this book is a perfect follow-up actually to Manifesting, because it's the receiving part of the manifestation. It goes both ways. Really, it goes both ways for sure. So now you mentioned
open hands.
Open hands, exactly. So you mentioned the theosophy, and actually that's interwoven throughout this book as well, and especially Madame Blavatsky. So could you speak to maybe how her influence too and theosophy, how that's all intertwined and throughout this book?
Well, the primary focus of Blavatsky's writing, The Secret Doctrine, was to explain how consciousness comes and initializes, drives and sustains all of life. And it is the energy that brings us here. It is the energy that sustains us. It is the energy that we redirect through our lives. And it is all of life. I mean, theosophy believes that all of life, many Native Americans and shamanic people believe that all of life, trees, deer, cats, dogs, parrots, bumblebees, rocks, mountains, rivers, all have consciousness, all have life, all have spirit, all are connected, and it's our connectedness that we need to pursue. So consciousness is a many-faceted thing. It is light, it is the 7 rays, it is intelligent communication, it is the inner voice within us, it is the universal reality that is behind all of life. And that is basically Raja Yoga, and it's basically Blavatsky.
It's fascinating. You've mentioned Raja Yoga a couple times. We were talking about that right before our event started. Raja Yoga. So interesting. You mentioned, you don't mention that specifically in the book, but yes, no, that definitely the royal road, as they would say, is taking that and really being open to consciousness too. So what would you really want people to take away from this book most if they pick it up? What's the most important thing with this book that you'd like people to get out of it?
Well, what I'd really like everybody to do is read this book and say, wow, and then go get a copy of a good translation of the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali and read it cover to cover. And don't listen to anybody who's going to tell you how to read it. You read it, and it's like Blavatsky said, you read it with an open mind, and as it hits you, it just descends into your body. You don't intellectualize it. So there is an unseen world that is out there. It is not just a physical universe. There is an energy aspect to this, a non-physical aspect to all of this. How we're interrelated and interdependent and connected.
Definitely, yeah. That rings really true throughout the title. I was trying to find these passages here. You keep reminding as you're talking, it's like, oh yeah, that one. That's why I keep flipping through.
Well, I love to tell these little stories.
I know, right? Exactly.
It's kind of hard to tell my own, but I like to tell other people's stories.
No, that's good. It brings it all together, and they're memorable too. I mean, like I'll always remember your Indian fellow and the calls and things like you're saying. You know, that's just that those synchronicities are fascinating too. Now here it is. So a couple things really. There's one passage in here that's worth the price of admission, I think, for this. And it is we are human life vessels who must learn to become a part of co-creation on the level of development we occupy on Earth training grounds we inhabit. That right there is basically like it.
Well,
So
this is what I took away from my study of Gnosticism. You know, if you read Pistis Sophia, and you read the Sophia of Jesus Christ, which are two notable of many Gnostic Gospels or Gnostic books, which actually were part of, the Orthodox Bible at some point or other. And they were like, no, this isn't it. They were just too mystical. This is the idea that, as it says in Sophia of Jesus Christ, I am light, you are light, my Father light is above is pure light. We are the sons and daughters of light. We are the children of light. And I don't want to sound preachy here, but it's like this inner self that we talk about, this inner self or consciousness, or this is really light. And we call it light because, as Blavatsky said, we can never really define the ultimate reality. Is it sound? Is it the logos? Is it an inspiration? Is it energy? It is many forms, but it is intelligent energy. And this is what runs through all of us. And it's like we just leak it out. Our thoughts spray everywhere. We listen to whatever we think is loudest and easiest to listen to. We're not really listening. We're not really communicating. We're not really focusing. We're not really in touch. And our connectedness is via our consciousness.
Exactly. And if you indulge me, one more quote here. It's so towards the end, it's ancient wisdom holds that the universe was created and exists through consciousness or infinite mind. So it maintains that the universal consciousness upholds all creation. And so really that kind of like just does weave it all together. And I wanted to highlight a couple of those passages just because this is far more than like a paranormal book or anything like that. It really is a manual for that other end of manifesting, of bringing those messages in, so you can understand what the universe holds for you, or what can be next, or how you can grow, really. So there's guides really to move you forward too, and you never know where they're going to come from or when. And so being open to that is integral to the journey. You mentioned like the journey of life, the hero's journey. We're all on that journey, as well. And it's our kind of our duty to have these experiences, to be open to that, to add to the great record of experience and create, right? And so we have assistance to do that too, if we're open to listening and being able to do that. Correct? Right,
Chris. You think of the hero's journey, and I think of like all of these myths of the hero's journey, and there's so many in literature and elsewhere. They're even used in psychology. And really, if you think about it, they're instructive. Like all mythology is instructive. Like take the Wizard of Oz. You embark on a great journey, and you can do this in your lucid dreaming, or you can do this consciously in your waking times. But every one of us needs to accept the call. And what happens in the hero's journey is that the hero accepts the call to go beyond and to move forward into new terrain. This is what I'm suggesting, that we all accept the call and go forward with new courage to explore what it means to be connected, and what it means to be human, what it means to possess intelligent energy.
Exactly. Accepting the call. And that's why I say, I've said a couple times throughout this chat is that it is really a very positive book, because it's allowing someone or motivating someone to really answer that call, or first discern what the call is and then answer it, because you have to discern what that is, where you're going, and what what the universe or God or the Almighty is trying to say, or whomever, and really accept that, and then move forward and make your life an adventure and adding to the the great story. So it's really, like I said, a perfect follow up to the first book, and it won't be the last here too. So what's ahead now? What's coming up for Vaughn?
Ooh, well,
right, we can talk about this now. Go ahead.
Okay. We can talk about the new. Can we talk about the scrolls?
Yeah. So.
Okay.
It'll be launching here soon. Vaughn is the first writer for our Ancient Wisdom Scroll series. It's coming out in the fall winter season here coming up. Before we know it, it's like nothing else. I don't have an example to show you here, but we're going to allow people to learn like the ancients, and Vaughn is the scribe for the ancients, I guess, right now.
they are beautiful, Chris. You got these tubes, these clear tubes with these big stoppers. It's just like a scroll of old. I think like in 2,000 years, they'll dig up some of these REDFeather scrolls and they'll say, exactly. Gosh, this was back in the year 2020, And so they're going to be like capsulized versions of the ancient wisdom tradition. Right. So they're called the Ancient Wisdom series of scrolls. The first one we do is going to be past lives, and then there's going to be one on lucid dreams.
Yep.
And then that'll be coming up this fall. And I'm really excited about it because they're a fun and easy read, and you can carry them around in your pocket, even more portable than a pocketbook.
Exactly, too. I mean, and what a conversation piece, too. I mean, just wait till you see him, then you can just carry him around, and you'll look like Socrates, and be able to
but without the beard, right?
Without the beard, maybe. Well, depending on who you are. I mean, so but yeah, so that's what's coming up. So you have 2 in the fall, and then 2 more in the spring. We're looking at 2. There that Vaughn's written, and so looking forward to that as well. So we'll definitely be doing more of these. It's going to be like a series we do often. Our chats. We'll have to give them their own kind of like moniker. Something like I'll think about what that could be.
The Scroll Patrol. Yes.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
We'll see how that goes. All right. So how can people get in touch with you or follow you if they want to? Your website or social media? Or how
you go to Facebook's /V Braschler. You can go to any of my books, especially my REDFeather books. And you can find under the author bio, I have a running list of all of my interviews. Never as complete as the one with Chris, of course, but I do other interviews, and then you can go on Twitter. It's like I think my moniker is @LovesCatDancing. Loves cat dancing. Yes.
Wonderful. All right, we'll have to talk about that one, but just that sometime. Cat dancing.
Cats think they can dance. Yeah.
I'm sure. So, well, thanks a lot for having another chat here. It certainly won't be the last. So our Mysterious Messages from Beyond is available on redfeathermbs.com and wherever Mind, Body, Spirit books are sold, or trade books, where you like to pick your books up, Amazon or Barnes & Noble, or anywhere you want to go, they'll be able to order it for you. So thanks for tuning in today, and thanks again to you, Vaughn, and everybody have a wonderful day, beautiful day, and be open to the messages from Beyond. Please do it.
Thank you.